Greetings, legendary readers. Welcome to Larry's Legendary Library, where I explore science fiction, fantasy, and other bits and bobs. Well, today is Magazine Monday, and we are going to jump into this issue of Fantastic Universe, April 1956. Fantastic Universe ran from 1953 to 1960 through that transitional period between the pulp era and the more literary science fiction magazines like Galaxy and Fantasy and Science Fiction. This magazine knew its audience. It specialized in clear and accessible storytelling, solid professional writers, and science fiction that leaned more toward ideas and adventure than formal experimentations. It may not have been flashy, but it was dependable and sometimes surprisingly thoughtful. This issue is Volume 5, Number 3. The cover art, let's look at that again, by Kelly Freas, one of the most influential science fiction illustrators of the 20th century. Frank Belknap Long, one of the authors that we're going to be looking at today, wrote a nice write-up about and it's found right behind the cover, and it's entitled The Story Behind the Cover. Isn't that cute? And that was a nice feature, and it talked about this cover illustration, cover art. What really struck me about this magazine, after reading 3 of the stories, I selected them more or less at random, and all 3 that I selected kind of had a common theme revolving around sight, perception, or the absence of sight. I don't know if it was intentional to have a theme for this issue. I don't know that it was, but it was a nice reading experience for me to have a cohesive theme to the stories that I selected. First up, we'll talk about Second Sight by Alan E. Nourse. Alan E. Nourse is best remembered for his medical science fiction. He had a medical degree. He was a physician, and the background shows in his stories. In Second Sight, it features our protagonist, 23-year-old Amy, who has an enhanced form of perception, a way of seeing beyond normal human limits, and it's called psi positive, probably taken from psionics, which I think Alan Nourse was interested in and wrote about often. She can see what people are thinking, and she can also see what they see or what they have seen in the past. As the story unfolds, there are those that want to help Amy, and there are those that would want to exploit her. This is a quiet and thoughtful piece of science fiction. It's not flashy, but it lingers on. I'm giving Second Sight an L4. It's loaded. It's well worth reading, especially if you enjoy idea-driven science fiction with an ethical bite. The second story is The Spectacles by Frank Belknap Long. Frank Belknap Long was part of the Lovecraft Circle. He was friends with H.P. Lovecraft. He wrote extensively for weird tales. He wrote in science fiction and horror and other genres. He often was thought of to have a weird or psychological edge to everything he wrote. The Spectacles revolves around a pair of glasses that fundamentally change how the wearer sees the world. What begins as a kind of a curious, fun novelty quickly becomes something more disturbing as the protagonist realizes that what he sees and even more than what he sees, what he realizes about the world around him is quite disturbing. This one surprised me. It was a little weird. It was a little unsettling, and it was all done in about a page and a half. I'm giving The Spectacles an L4. It's loaded. It's well worth reading. And then finally, I'm going to talk about Soul Solution by Eric Frank Russell. Eric Frank Russell is well known in classic science fiction. He's especially remembered for clever ideas and ironic twists, including the story we're talking about today. Soul Solution presents a problem that doesn't appear to have a solution. The protagonist finds himself completely and utterly in the dark, completely unable to see anything, unable to feel anything. He decides to think about his situation. He's a scientist. He feels like that science ought to be able to come to a solution to any problem that he might face. I'll have to admit that I thought the twist at the end was going to be a baby pushing his way out of his mother's womb, which might have made an interesting story. But Russell's twist was certainly surprising and probably more interesting. And I'm giving Soul Solution an L4 loaded. It is well worth reading. So, well, that is Magazine Monday, inadvertently selecting 3 stories revolving around sight. That certainly added to my enjoyment, picking 3 stories that were L4 loaded, well worth reading, certainly a strong outing in today's Magazine Monday. It's a great reminder that even so-called mid-tier science fiction magazines can often deliver thoughtful and idea-driven stories that still resonate today. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, stay legendary. Legendary.